Hello and welcome to another episode of EMA Cloud Rants. Today with our special guest John Troyer. And what are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about containers. John, let's ask you first. Who will manage containers, the ops or the dev guys?
Well, isn't the answer always then DevOps? I think there's a real reason for VMware and infrastructure admins to be able to do part of that, right? A lot of things when they go wrong, it's the DNS, it's networking, it's storage I/O, it's kind of crazy things like that. But there's another set of problems that come from inside the container, right? Slow startup, weird timeouts, kind of strange things that happen in the app stack. So unfortunately, I think it's going to be a little bit of both.
Right. Interesting. Jens, what do you see? What do you see out there in the wild? Dev guys or ops guys, or both worrying about container management?
Well, right now, in the German, Mittelstand, so the middle-sized company, it's definitely still the dev guys that are doing the Kubernetes stuff. And I think most of them are really ramping up their skills. So I think most of the real heroes, they have not touched containers yet, only the totally advanced ones.
Mm-hmm. And in that context, we always talk about containers as first-class citizen, John, right? Manage containers just like you manage virtual machines. Is that the right approach? Does that always make sense across the board? How does this go together with, for example, existing legacy applications and the upsides of containers that you want to realize? Of course, I'm speaking about VMware VIC to a degree as well.
Sure. Well, I think it's clear the software stack is going to have to evolve. The management stack is going to have to evolve because you're going to have orders of magnitude more containers with orders of magnitude shorter lifespans. Mm-hmm. On the other hand, right now, there's a lot of people building out infrastructure to tackle that. Everybody from Red Hat and VMware trying to wrap it up Kubernetes to Docker. And so I think, I think that we're getting there, but it's going to be a new paradigm, and I don't think any of the old software is going to work.
Jens, you are now the super certified container guy with the actual deep dive. What's your take on this? Containers as a first-class citizen. How different are containers, right? I mean, you are as old as I am, right? Old guys, even before we still bare metal in the beginning, guys, and then VM. How different are them? How are those containers? How painful is that transition to containers?
Still, at the moment, I think it's very painful. So we are at the starting point. Tools are command line only, and you really have to dive deep into the stuff, even for doing basic things. So I think we are really like at the place where ESX 1 was or 2.0, so base millennia before the mainstream. Mm-hmm. That's my take.
And the interesting final comment, John, that I would also like from you real quick is when you look at DockerCon, at the announcements, the key underlying announcement was lift and shift, right? It's like, wow, we realized there is 99% of old workloads. And I think our investors want to see those $180 million back someday. Now let's start lifting and shifting. What do you think about that?
Well, that was a clear message from Docker. And it's a problem, right? Because I think right now in 2017, if you put your legacy apps inside a container and run them on a platform like Docker, basically you've just replicated a fairly poorly featured vSphere, right? We're going to have to invent all the same tools that VMware has done over the last 15 years again. So it's a little bit of a chicken and egg. I also talked to infrastructure admins who are like, I've studied Kubernetes, I've played with it on toy apps, but I don't even have an app to run on it. So I think if you're a normal IT organization, a normal company, and you buy a lot of off-the-shelf software, and you're not doing your own cloud-native apps yet, there's very little place to use containers this moment in mission critical. But there are some greenfield and smaller projects that you might want to try.
That's a very clear statement. Thank you very much, John. It was fun. This was another episode of EMA Cloud Rants.